So this message is specifically for Romanians who have a non-Romanian partner. I'll speak in English because I'm guessing that you speak with your partner in English. Now, it's quite possible that as your partner has tried to learn some Romanian, to communicate with your family, thinking, yeah, that'd be great. I'd like to learn another language. I'd like to learn more about you and your culture. And so they learn some words, and then it gets to the point where they're starting to sort of put some words together, but they don't do it right. And so you say, oh, okay, yeah, no, well, we actually say it like this. Not like that, but like this. And they'll say, oh, okay, why is that? And you say, well, I don't really know, but you'll learn it in time. You just have to learn it. And then as time carries on, there are more sort of exceptions and, oh yeah, no, that one doesn't work like that. This one works like that. And you start to see the frustration build a little bit because they're trying to form patterns in their head. And then it's almost like the rules keep changing. And the fact of the matter is that English has a very low threshold for basic communication. So pretty much as soon as you start learning words like speak, understand, drive, believe, like, you can just use them. You can put them together with other words and you can make yourself understood. You can communicate with people, which is fantastic. Obviously, English gets harder the more you delve into the different tenses and different forms later on, but for basic communication, it's very efficient. Romanian, on the other hand, has a really complicated system of just the simple verb conjugations. The way that we would say, I do this, you do this, he does that. You probably know this already, but you probably don't realize quite how many exceptions there are. Your partner might ask you very reasonable questions like, well, why do we just lose the N when we're saying eu pun tu pui? Why do we say you chicken? Why don't we leave the N in there and say tu puni? Or they might say, but why do we change from porta to puerta? Why do we change from a U to an OA? Where's the logic? Why do we not say vedi? Why do we say vez? Where does the Z come from vedia? Now, these are all perfectly logical questions, and you probably don't know the answer. In fact, most of us don't know exactly why something is the way it is. So your response is, well, that's the way it is. That's just the way we have to learn it. And this is the problem. You're 100% right. But it's very discouraging for somebody learning a language to feel like the rules are constantly changing and they can't get a grasp on anything solid. So what I'd like to suggest is that if you're assisting your partner to learn Romanian, try to concentrate just on communication and don't worry about correction. Most people get better at English because they have the chance to actually speak it. And then as time goes along, they get to add bits in and miss bits out. And they realize that they perhaps haven't said something right, and so they change it. But nobody can ever just learn a language in their head from theory. So let them speak, let them communicate. It is good for people learning Romanian to have an idea of the theory so that they can understand some of the overall patterns. Of course it is. But just being drip-fed corrections all the time can actually just discourage rather than help, even when it's done with the very best of intentions. So next time your partner says, Vreo merge la o magazine, you understand perfectly, maybe just leave it. Don't correct it. Say, da, hai să mergem. Give them that confidence with expressing themselves, with knowing that they have been fully understood. And in time, these adjustments will happen and they will probably say un magazine instead of o magazine without even having to ever be told. And if you know somebody who wants to learn a little bit more Romanian, I'm starting a course on the 30th of June, so just drop me a message and I'll let you know the details.